In order to counter the ever-expanding desires and ambitions of the empire, those countries that were devoured by the imperial claws united and engaged in a prolonged war on the stage of the vast universe. At the same time, young people who want to trace their parents' past affairs eventually become embroiled in the vortex of conspiracy. In the competition among various forces, what kind of answer will they find? Keywords of the novel. Old Light Dawn without pop-ups, Old Light Dawn TXT Complete Collection Download, Old Light Dawn Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Preface. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Preface, Shit. Detected strong fluctuation of enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy, energy level X. Allegis. USSS reports. Our core compartment has lost its airtightness, it has lost its airtightness. Our ship is no longer able to move forward. Our ship sizzles. The connection with Ms. Ariel's first star, the Argus, has been interrupted. Captain. We have lost the hyperoptical entanglement with the energy core signal of the USS Ellis. Bruce looked at the joint operation report in front of him and finally sat down slowly, with no blood on his face. The Alliance has invested too much power here, and it can be said that it is imperative to destroy the Empire's control over the UP.ST star domain. 5 Shield-class battleships, 12 Nebula-class attack battleships cruisers, and countless other conventional ships. 2 light air superiority aircraft carriers with unclear features, 1 flagship-class aircraft carrier with unclear features, and 1 Joint Force-class flagship-class armored dreadnought. And the only aircraft carrier in my fleet has been sunk, now it's my turn as the flagship. Full ship upgrade. After struggling in the end, Bruce slowly stood up and issued the final battle order. Since the core of the leap has been disrupted and cannot retreat completely, it is better to become a battle hero of the Empire and die on the battlefield. Full ship upgrade. Energy core state level 12. Entering artillery mode, the main artillery unit has already stored energy. The gravitational signal has been captured. Photoelectric radar target capture, firepower control channel connection, enemy ship feature signal recognition as Shield-class battleship. Bruce hesitated, knowing that the Shield Guard must be the bait of the Alliance. However, Shield-class battleships equipped with large capacity and powerful constant shield generators are very suitable for absorbing damage. Although the battleship is already qualified as a result of the battle, if it is fired hastily like this, one's main weapon will be stuck in a long state of charging, making it difficult to counter the enemy's flagship firepower. Skip him. Project electromagnetic torpedoes at him to stop charging straight towards him. We have our air superiority fighter jets in the air. It's the support from the ground. Tell them not to step forward and just protect me. Detected strong fluctuations in enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy. Energy level X. Enemy ship firing. Collision warning. 3, 2. Buzz. The dazzling white light illuminated the bridge of the ship. A yellow beam of light extending from a distance pierced straight in front of everyone, causing a violent collision with the shield. Not penetrated. The strength of the shield enhancement coil has decreased to 89%, with no structural damage. It seems to have been surrounded. Bruce shook his head in difficulty. As the colonial flagship of imperial glory, is there still room for surrender? The Empire cannot enter and provide support at such times. Because it's no longer meaningful. The photoelectric radar has captured and the feature recognition is Enemy Nebula-level attack battleship cruiser. Attack battleship cruisers, as the most skilled platform in firepower output in the Navy, have the firepower of battleships, but only cruisers, or even lower levels of protection capabilities. Detected strong fluctuations in enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy. Energy level X. TSK. We still need to prioritize solving the nebula. Launch gravitational probes. I want to know how many nebulae there are in that area. The gravitational probe has been projected. Collision warning. 3, 2. Boom. The seventh shield restraint coil caught fire under high voltage and has been extinguished. Detected electromagnetic torpedo hit. Enemy ship damage assessment. Effective penetration. Detected enemy ship losing airtightness and explosive features on the forward side. However, the damage is limited. A single torpedo is indeed difficult to pose a sufficient threat to a battleship. Gravity probe channel blocked. This is an electronic warfare method. It seems that there are additional electronic attack ships in their area. Found enemy ships. The number of nebula-level attack battleships that can be locked in the area is 7. Choose one target from each of the 3 main guns and shoot in unison. Main weapon shooting. Bang. 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 The 3 loud noises and the main energy consumed during the firing of the main gun temporarily pushed the bridge into darkness. Effective hit. 3 Nebula-class ships have lost their signature signals. The photoelectric radar target has been lost. Warning. There is an ultra-high energy reaction in the energy storage. It is indeed waiting for the enemy's main weapon to fire first. The enemy flagship has entered. Energy level 13. The detected energy level is still rising. Here we are, finally here we are. Barus has now let go of his entanglement and is no longer thinking about anything else. I hope the Empire can treat my wife and children well. Enter a fully airtight state. Super heavy ion confinement coil enters overload. The maximum energy of the deflection shield. Gravitational radar has captured. The feature signal is recognized as an enemy Joint Force class armored dreadnought. The flagship colonial ship, as a flagship in the regular naval sequence, targets the dreadnought, but the dreadnought emphasizes attack capability, while the colonial flagship emphasizes regional control and fleet maintenance capability. The biggest difference is that as a combat sequence, the dreadnought is equipped with anti-flagship weapons. Now the area is out of control and the fleet has been completely destroyed. For the so-called glory of the Empire, Barus can only act like a trapped beast still fighting. Barus is an imperial aristocrat, and this cannot be changed. But his crew could only accompany this seemingly destined fate, becoming a subtle color in the glory of the Empire. How long does the main cannon need to store energy? Main weapon energy storage. 65%, can fire. Detected strong fluctuations in enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy, energy level 14. Project scattering crystals. The main gun has also reached the minimum firing energy storage point, and it is time for the fish to die and the net to be broken. The main guns fired in unison. Main weapon shooting. Open the kinetic energy braking facilities and the kinetic energy capture radiation slot. Collision warning. 3, 2. Bang. Bang. A huge and irresistible force pushed almost all the people in the bridge away from their positions. Ah! Barus slammed heavily onto the podium. Woo! Woo dot. A piercing alarm sounded throughout the ship. Injury, injury assessment. Injury assessment. He sat up with difficulty, but no one responded to him. Captain, Kellerman has fainted. Kellerman is the chief avionics officer of Barus, mainly responsible for reporting on avionics content. You're replacing him. Barus, struggling from intense dizziness and mental confusion, slowly climbed back to his seat. Serious injury. Shield pierced. Q zones hit directly, lost airtight. The E and H areas are severely damaged and are losing their airtightness. The fire has been extinguished. The shield has been taken offline. The structural strength assessment is 77%. Lose 45% of power supply and 62% of fluid armor structure. The turret of X has stopped working, and torpedo launchers 5.8 have been destroyed. Detected strong fluctuations in enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy. Energy level X. Multiple enemy ship energy fluctuations. Collision warning. 3, 2. Bang. A fierce blow, like raindrops, was projected from the Alliance's ships. Bang. Bang. Serious damage. The core C compartment has been penetrated, causing a fire and is losing its airtightness. The gravitational radar has stopped working. Host 3 has been destroyed and its energy level has dropped to 8. The push computer has stopped serving. We have lost 78% of our power supply and 92% of our fluid armor structure. Captain. Looking at the survival desire in the eyes of my subordinates, and feeling the steel coffin that has already entered a dead end. In the end, Bruce weakly waved his hand. Let's all abandon the ship. A flagship without shield protection is no longer able to withstand attacks from battleships. Detected strong fluctuations in enemy ship's electro-optical radar signal, high energy. Energy level X. All crew abandon the ship. All crew abandon the ship. Collision warning. 3, 2. Boom. Warning, suffer a devastating blow. The main structure of the ship has been irreparable and is losing its airtightness. Warning. Only the last person left in the bridge was Bruce. Have all his subordinates escaped safely? What about the surrounding carrier-based aircraft? He doesn't even know. He can only sit helplessly in his seat, the throne in his heart. I can't do anything now, it's all over. Self-destruction. It can also achieve self-destruction. Start the self-destruct program. Rather than being sunk by the enemy, it's better to self-destruct in front of them. It wasn't sunk by the enemy. This is my last chance. I wasn't sunk by the enemy. Damage identification completed. Voice print recognition has passed. Captain, please provide final instructions. Start the self-destruct program. The order has been accepted, and the ship will self-destruct in 1 minute. There were only piercing alarms and mechanical system alarms left in my ears. This means that this once radiant Imperial colonial flagship has entered the final stage of her glorious career. The captain, as the commander, died in battle on the ship, which protected the glory of the Empire and was sunk on the battlefield. Ha ha ha. Bruce. Can you imagine it? Suddenly, a terrifying laughter came from the dark bridge. The crew members who hurriedly fled could not possibly aspire to the reverence of their former identity. The elegant captain would be so disheveled and emit that terrifying laughter, right? Until the last moment, there was still no one around you, ha ha ha. Bruce, whose left hand had already been fractured in the collision, finally lay slowly on the cold ground of the bridge in a frenzy. You are still the only one accompanying me. It's still just you, so loyal to me. I only have you, hee, I'm Cough cough. There are still 10 seconds left before entering self-destruction. I only have you left. After hearing the final alarm, Bruce began to frantically climb towards the command post where he galloped on the battlefield. The right hand, which had lost its color, wanted to lift it up with difficulty. Grasping something weakly in the air. Home. My home. Anya. Anya. We're about to reach it. We're about to reach it. 3, 2. Anya. 1. Hello everyone, I am Hulu, a wanderer with a career. This is my first publicly published novel. Although I am a cold and aloof STEM man, I have always had a writing heart since I was young. I know that this road may be blocked and long, but I am also willing to take the first step towards my dream. I hope everyone can support me, give me encouragement, and ask for your guidance. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. 1. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2, 1. Many things we don't want to accept and are powerless to resist, but they actually happen in front of us. Instead of choosing to deceive, escape, or cry, it's better to find ways to change ourselves. EP1-10 Today is undoubtedly the darkest day in our history, the fearless and brave warriors of the Empire. As the last battleship of the Empire, the Imperial Halo-class colonial flagship, was sunk by the Alliance in near satellite orbit, the once glorious Empire lost its source of power and could no longer control this remote colonial galaxy. On television and on mobile phones, various news media information terminals are playing promotional images of the mainstream media of the Empire. The so-called president, dressed in a puppet's coat, constantly delivers grandiose speeches, accusing the enemy of brutality in evil means. Political news is constantly spreading within the star domain, but what is the help of this? Can we really sink enemy warships by relying on keyboards? But am I from the Empire or the so-called Alliance? The Up.Our galaxy belongs to the Up.St domain, located in the constellation Neptune. Our galaxy does not have abundant resources, nor do we have large, moderate colonial planets suitable for the development of the Alliance Empire. It is only located at a critical shipping hub. If the construction of this facility is carried out here, it can supply and prepare the ships that come and go, achieving control over more remote and resource-rich galaxies. So at best, the facilities here can only be considered as appendages to those galaxies. The value of the government, factories, ports, and even everyone here is only attached to other values, including myself. As for me, I am just a mere slave. To be precise, they should be children of slaves. My father was from the original Alliance. Oh yes, there was no Alliance at that time. So I should be a carrier-based aircraft pilot in the navy of the Duchy of Guillenlo, and I am his only relative on the ship. According to naval tradition, ships that have reached the battleship level can accommodate family members. The strangest thing is that I have no impression of my mother. Even her appearance. I only know that the ship carrying my father and me, who were still young, was sunk by the Empire during a war operation. He piloted the carrier plane and I successfully escaped, but unexpectedly became prisoners of the Empire. Due to the dual factors of imperial warfare and the need to protect myself, I became an industrial slave of the Empire and was assigned to the maintenance facility on Up.Our's first star as a carrier-based aircraft for the Empire's maintenance. But now, he's dead. Along with the attack on the flagship, the aircraft carrier was torn apart by the ugly enemy's energy weapons. Unfortunately, we have not found any survivors. Even a little bit of luck is gone. Among the fleet stationed here by the Empire, there is only one attacking aircraft carrier. The first star of Miserial, the Argus. So this makes it easy for me to distinguish, and there are no survivors, so I no longer hold hope and fantasy. I became an orphan. In fact, I hold a grudge against the Empire and believe that I have always been a member of the Alliance. Hate those who mistreat my father, hate those who attack me with language, hate these machines that eat people but don't spit out bones, hate everything here. But they took away my only father. Hee hee ha. What are you giggling about? Like a fool. The remote constant temperature furnace continuously maps heat onto my back through radiation, bringing a slight unreal temperature to the cold reality in front of me. Looking up, the huge portal frame support rushed straight up into the sky from in front of us. This is the fourth lifting facility here. And Moral around me, my best classmate and colleague. My slightly shorter stature makes me wonder if this guy has met the height requirements. The concise short hair and a face with a Chinese accent make people wonder if this guy is actually a lazy pig. You're the idiot. Speaking of which, just like my father, I inherited his excellent adaptability to mechanics. I have shown a high talent for various devices since childhood. Thanks to this, I even received a qualified education within the controlled areas of the Empire. In fact, when it comes to being one class higher than slaves, it can be considered as hard work, right? Before they successfully land, blow up everything here. But unlike me, they are so-called native imperial citizens. While I am often talked about as just a wild seed, they even have auxiliary ranks and can receive additional compensation and subsidies by accepting tasks like labor, but I can only eat according to work. There is food to eat, but if you don't make it, you will go hungry. Even so, there are still people who covet my meager income. After layers of exploitation, the possibility of 10 out of 5 or 6 reaching me in the end is considered a stroke of gratitude, right? This is a fair, but also unfair era. Now we are like soldiers, carrying out so-called tasks. This should also be our final task, right? But Moral is my only friend. He genuinely took care of me and treated me as a friend, accompanying me through many long difficulties. I still hope to have some leisure in the future. Hey. How do you think the members of the Alliance will treat us? The young man, covered in oil stains, put down his explosives and tools as if he wanted to take a nap. This blatant laziness is also readily available to their imperial citizens. Strictly speaking, we are not soldiers, so we will not become prisoners of war. In a sense, I really envy it. Of course, the Alliance does not have the term slaves, so you don't have to worry too much. Assuming we can see the Alliance, right? You are different from us. You should be considered a member of the former federal government, so you don't feel scared, do you? So my fear, you really can't feel it at all, right? Yeah, it's impossible to feel it, right? Dang. Is there still the sound of metal work coming from afar, and are there any projects struggling in the final stages? This can also be considered the final productivity here, right? This is what is called loyalty, and I also admire it from the bottom of my heart. Of course, it is only limited to admiration. However, the current issue is not whether the Alliance is a former federation, but rather in the present. With such facilities, even if the Empire loses control, it will definitely not let her fall into the hands of the enemy. So the fate here has long been predetermined, and everything you can see here will be completely destroyed. But the problem lies with the workers in the facilities, that is, us. Will the Empire consider spending energy and resources on transfers? Or rather than spending time and money taking away this cheap labor force, it would be more cost-effective to recruit them locally near new facilities. Actually, rather than transferring us, they are running for their own lives and it's almost too late. So the consequences of being left behind are foreseeable and clear. That is to accompany these facilities for burial. Then we can't blame ourselves for making a living. But do you think they can make us leave alive? At this point, the atmosphere between us also began to become heavy. Are you saying? After all the equipment here is installed with explosives, how much time can we evacuate once it detonates? They wouldn't be like this, would they? The young man in front of him simply smiled, but his tone was so weak and energetic. Although it may not reach the level of belief, it has also begun to be filled with a mentality of luck. My argument is indeed not groundless. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. Or 1 hour. Leaving the port area, what about the shock wave of the explosion? Where can you escape to? Think about it carefully, this is destroying an entire facility, and the power of destruction must be significant. Damn it. It can be seen that he has already become slightly angry, but it may not seem enough yet. How could they do this? This is war, Moral. You and I are just optional consumables in war. Although it is difficult to find a way for him to recognize reality, in order to achieve my goal, I can only try to dissolve his thoughts first. Everyone is, and so are they. Slowly, he placed his hand on the device in front of him, and this cold feeling helped him find the reason that might have been lost. But I just want to have enough food and clothes to wear. You should know that when a person's desire for survival is aroused, it is the easiest time to be induced. The saying goes, if a person is not for themselves, heaven and earth will perish. And living on is precisely the greatest pursuit of oneself. His eyes flickered, as if he was thinking about something. Are they really going to abandon us? Faced with such a naive question, I could only smile bitterly and wave my hand, then nod seriously. What else can I do? Actually, I'm not 100% certain, but this kind of thing still, it is better to believe in its existence than to believe in its absence. My lips wriggled slightly, trying to say something. In the end, there was no sound coming out. Slowly lowering his slightly raised hand, it was evident that his heart was filled with struggle. We may not have much time left. Is it the so-called glory of the empire, or the desire for survival filled in the heart? Adding fuel to the fire has been seen as petty behavior since ancient times, but in some cases it is also necessary. Why are you so calm? Lin man, you're very smart. Slowly approaching me, finally wanting to grab my shoulder. But in the end, he only held my hand. I know you must have a way. After a brief silence, the gaze of the person in front of me turned directly towards him. Although he looks very scared, I know he trusts me. And similarly, I also trust him very much. True trust is equivalent. When it comes to provoking his desires, there is suspicion of harming others and benefiting oneself. After all, this is also making him do something like treason. Deku shouted despicably, but it didn't stop me from really needing his help. This is currently the only feasible way for both of us to survive. If it's just a simple trick in comparison to keep him alive, my heart is still peaceful. Of course, if you run away directly, you won't be able to escape. Leaving aside the impact range of this explosion, even if you leave the port normally, it will take nearly 3 hours. So my intuition tells me. Since I want to play, I need to play bigger. Are you sure you want to listen to me? I don't like to sit idly by. Coincidentally, after all, surviving is more important than anything else. Survival is more important than anything else. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. 3. A staircase leading to the underground. After running into a more internal space, besides the disorderly arrangement of various cargo containers, this is the staircase leading to the underground. It turns out that I'm getting into the nitpick. From the width of the stairs and the lifting facility tracks installed according to the outline of the stairs. The shipborne hangar should have been set up underground. This factory building is actually just a protective cover built to protect a part of the carrier-based aircraft launch tube that must be extended. Linmin. Who? Ho. Your body doesn't seem to be doing well. I don't know if it was because I took the calming pill and my mood improved, or for some other reason. I teased the panting guy in front of me. You think Ho? Who, everyone is the same as you. Ha. The same. Climb up every day, Ho, climb down, cough. Sure enough, even his mood became relaxed and he started joking with me. Digging in and out of something. Although it's just describing the facts, take a look at this terrible statement. That's true, but if it's not like this, I'll go hungry. I suddenly realized if I had said something wrong. The atmosphere fell into silence, and under the silence, only his uneven breathing could be heard. Sorry, I waved my hand to this last remaining companion, and of course I knew he didn't mean it. So continuing to discuss such matters is meaningless. This is just the environment. I always lose something when I gain something. So this world is fair. But sometimes what you get is just what you should have received. And the loss is indeed difficult to make up for. So this world is once again unfair. Let's go, have you had enough breathing? Boom. Hiss. The two people who had just lifted their legs to prepare for going down the stairs were suddenly frightened by the distant explosion. At the same time, he slipped and sat down on the highest step. Bah! Spit! Spit! What the hell? Sprinkle a mouthful of dust on me. What should I do? It's quite awkward to think about it. Do you need to say something at this time? So, the Alliance has started bombing again. Hee hee, ha ha ha, look at your foolishness. Okay, it's counterproductive. Let's find an opportunity to change the topic now. Alright, hurry up and leave, there's not much time left. I'm not going to look at his expression either. Besides a silly smile, there must be nothing else. Perhaps he's not that nervous now, is he? This is also a good excuse to help him relax and unwind. The stairs are not high, and after walking for about 2 floors, we reached the bottom. It seems that there is no other way down there. Look over there. Following the direction of the person behind them lifting their hands, for carrier-based aircraft have already embraced the launch track. Waiting quietly for takeoff. Unlike the carrier-based aircraft technology used by the Alliance, the Empire prefers to use large carrier-based aircraft launch tubes, which can launch multiple carrier-based aircraft from one tube at a time. The giant launch tube mounted on the Imperial supercarrier can even launch an entire attack squadron at once. This advantage goes without saying, with a huge launch capacity, a fleet of aircraft can be launched in a short period of time to block the sky and the sun. But the disadvantage is also very obvious. The maintenance speed of carrier-based aircraft facilities is extremely slow, and it is also difficult for carrier-based aircraft to hold on to the launch orbit for a long time after completing the maintenance. This can cause certain damage to both the launch tube and the structure of the carrier-based aircraft. For example, the carrier-based aircraft that has been flipped 180 degrees and hung upside down now blood stains. How could there be blood stains here? Moral. Don't go inside yet. This doesn't seem like footprints left after being stepped on by someone else. Near the bloodstains, there are also thin radioactive blood strands radiating from near to far. It looks more like it's splattering on the ground due to the wound opening. In thought, I reached out and grabbed Moral, who had just walked to me from behind, and pushed him behind a loose container. What's wrong with you? Moral, who seemed to have sensed something, also began to suppress his voice. Blood stains. Reaching out my hand, I also told Moral what I had just found on the ground. The latter immediately jumped up and took out the kinetic energy pistol pinned to his belt. It can be said that he has also understood what this means. If the previous corpses were, as I speculate, usually died from internal strife, then where did the blood come from here? Can these so-called elite pilots really have a way to make an accurate counterattack immediately after being ambushed from behind? Don't worry yet, it may not be as you think. After pushing him completely into this seemingly safe little corner, I gently patted his face. My body is so tense, it seems that I felt the joy of surviving the disaster after seeing the fully equipped carrier-based aircraft. But now it's like falling into an ice cellar. This world is full of drama, no one can guess what will happen next second. He needs to calm down. After a brief and rapid gasp for breath, the Nyen family members under my weight slowly calmed down. Lin man, I'm afraid. If you could also look into his eyes like me, you could see the trembling soul through this window of the soul. Are we really going to die here? I don't want to. I don't want to. But they're full of people everywhere. We can't run away. Okay, calm down. The fragile soul deep inside, as if unable to withstand such strong pressure anymore, began to slowly crack. I'm so tired. I can't run anymore. Moral. Really? Linmin. Are we really unable to run? Are they really going to abandon us? I don't know if it's because of too much force or too much fear. Thin blood streaks began to crawl over his eyes, looking unusually terrifying. You have a gun, I have a gun too. Lin man. How about we give each other a quick pass? Listen to me. Moral. Ha. Ha. You listen to me. Just as he was gasping for breath again and really lifting his hand, trying to reach for the kinetic energy pistol at my waist, I couldn't resist in the end. Pop. The yellowed sunlight passed through the launch tubes of the carrier-based aircraft at the bottom, pulling out long ribbons of color in the smoke-filled underground. Just like his breathing, the ups and downs of my thoughts slowly pushed me towards the edge of being at a loss. The crisp sound of slaps kept ringing in my heart, with lingering echoes. I hit him. I am also afraid, but I don't know how to express myself. I don't know what I'm afraid of, exactly. Will I also collapse? The person in front of me, who was struggling to lift his hand, finally twitched weakly and slowly clenched into a fist, gently hitting my thigh that was pressing against his chest. Yes, I'm sorry, woo-woo. Lin man. I can feel warm tears gently falling on my hands. It's really hard to imagine that this kind of temperature comes from the guy in front of me who wants to give up his life. Sure enough, he's just a child, right? Sorry. He let go of him who was being held down and picked up the gun from the hand that I had just pressed under my leg. What should we do? Bang. Ka long. The demons on the track are constantly increasing environmental pressure. He is now filled with despair in his heart. Can this tired body really support him to regain hope? He trusts me so much. So I also have to trust him, right? Here you are. As soon as I handed him the pistol, my soul, which was about to crack open at any moment, once again froze. Take it. Why? The commotion just now may have alarmed the people here, I need to go and take a look. Take a good rest here and take it to protect yourself. Lin man, why? Listen up, Angodo's moral, you haven't reached the point of being desperate, you haven't reached the point of letting go and giving up. If you lose hope, give him hope. If he still cannot accept it, turn hope into something he has already accepted. Remember. Life is in your own hands. Even if you really can't hold on anymore and want to give up, there's still me. In the end, even if we gave up, it was me and you who gave up together. But now I haven't given up yet, I'm still struggling. Believe me, okay. We need to hurry up, if someone approaches us at this time, the consequences will be catastrophic. Trust me, just like I trust you now, okay. Woo-woo. Lin man. It's done. Although it was very inappropriate, my heart still decisively rejoiced. Take a break here, I'll go ahead and take a look. Remember to help me keep an eye on my butt. Although he remained silent, he could still be seen nodding lightly and then grabbing the pistol in his hand. This splattering of blood is facing forward, and it can be inferred that his wound is on his chest. This can also be confirmed by the fingerprints on the ground. It should be after the wound burst, with one hand covering the wound and the other supporting the ground. So the splattered blood was not obvious, slowly dripping through the hands onto the ground, and finally only a few filamentous splashing marks. So it can actually be inferred that someone was injured in the battle above, and finally endured the pain and walked down. Finally, the wound burst here and its whereabouts are unknown. So his goal should also be carrier-based aircraft. Did we just scare ourselves just now? Bang. 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 Sand-ah. The violent shaking accompanied by this continuous and regular loud noise transmitted from not far above our heads. The ceiling was also sprinkled with mud and ash due to the violent explosion. The carrier-based aircraft hanging on the launch track in the distance also presented a precarious situation. It's too late. They have started blasting the facilities. Bang. Bang. Pooh. Moral, come on. Come on, come on. The danger of the situation no longer worries me so much. The countdown to life has begun, and now we can only escape with all our might. Hurry up. Run forward. Once again, he had some hope, but this time he remained silent, but he struggled with his tired steps. This time, you think you want to catch up with me who is running ahead, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. 4. If the detonation facility has already started, we may only have a maximum of half an hour. At least possibly. It's already too late. People. Maybe there's no one else. That was just Lin Man. Following Morrow's suddenly stopped gaze, the majestic flat hexagonal launch track connects the fixed guide rail of the carrier-based aircraft in the middle and extends towards the dazzling sky. And within the bottom preparation area of the launch tube, a corpse dressed in Imperial Marine Corps protective clothing curled up quietly without any movement. The left hand covered the blood-stained chest, while the right hand casually collapsed. Apart from the magnetic and electric dagger inserted in the scabbard, there were no weapons visible on his body. The armor on the chest was directly penetrated, but the shield control coil on the back was intact without any signs of overload damage. It seems that this unlucky guy was also directly knocked down by the people around him. Don't worry about him, hurry up, you just go up first. The most important thing right now is still oneself. But if you can still struggle to this point, why not just die and have a good time? Go to the one closest to us on the right. And you. Let's sit together. I need login permission. He didn't speak much, so he had to turn around and run towards the carrier-based aircraft that was already fixed on the track. But what about electricity? The power connection indicator light has been turned off. Electricity. Electricity. It was the explosion just now, what should we do? What to do? And just as I looked at the workstation set aside, I was about to fall into endless fear in that moment. Mutations arise suddenly, and cold hair rises. The dull gasping sound blasted straight into my ears like a magical sound. He's not dead. Quickly holding the pistol, I turned around and found that Morrow was also slowly approaching me with his gun in hand. Obviously, he had to report the situation earlier and requested it incorrectly. And my mistake. Woo. And the initiator of all of this has already fallen into a terrifying spasm in struggle. This it seems like he hasn't died completely, and he still breathed a sigh of relief. This is really tragic. But do we have the right to say that others are miserable now? It's okay, I think he shouldn't be struggling for long either. And this way, TSK. Blood is still oozing out, and a strange dry and hoarse sound is coming from the throat. It's really better to just die right from the beginning. What are you doing? It's nothing, just give him a little help. You, although it may seem easy, can I really get started? Would I also be like this? Morrow was also shot. Lin Man. Although he looks really painful, we don't care about him. If he's left like this, that's all. Finally, shoot yourself too. Ha. Ha. Slowly facing his head like this, the mask should not be able to stop him so close. No pain, no pain. Did something explode again? Why do I feel him trembling? Okay, slowly lift it up, Lin Man. Suddenly, a huge force came from the right side and fiercely pushed me away, as if I had just woken up from a dream. I couldn't even feel the presence of my legs. Yes, Morrow. What am I doing? When my eyes were able to focus again, I faced the familiar face straight. Cough. Beside my ears came not only my heavy breathing, but also intermittent cries of sorrow and endless fear. What are you doing? Me, you really wanted to kill him just now. Me, looks very painful. Don't try to cheat me. You are just like me before. Your hands are shaking really hard. Turns out I'm shaking myself. Ha. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? Moral, we're out of battery. We're out of battery. Hee, we're out of battery. I don't want to see his expression again, and slowly my consciousness is about to fall into the edge of detachment. Why? Didn't you say you wanted me to believe you? Wake up, Linmin. Even you are like this, what should we do? Believe it, then who can I trust? Woo-woo. What should I do, you scammer? If a person has been striving to achieve a certain goal from the beginning, they will have a strong sense of arrogance towards what they believe. And a sense of deception. He will believe that this result will definitely happen, even if it is deceiving himself. But if this thing is proven to be wrong in the end, it does not exist. Then he will bear the darkness that is harder to believe than others. When I can no longer deceive myself in the end, what is true? That dreamlike feeling eventually intertwined with the tears sliding from the corners of his eyes, dripping onto my hands once again. Help. Cough. Help, the imperial soldier curled up on the ground suddenly fell into a new round of struggle at this moment. I could feel that he was still struggling to hold on to something, just like his last obsession, unwilling to let go easily. Help me. Ho ho. The faint shout was sandwiched in fierce gasps, but in the end it broke the silence between the two boys. The strong desire for survival once again fiercely stimulated these two shaky and about to extinguish starfires. But the invisible yet tangible pressure ravages the three hopes in this space fiercely. 3 hopes for survival. Damn it. Is today really the end of the world? Have you even lost your own life now, even though you only lost your father? Ah. He pounded fiercely towards the cold floor, hoping to receive some comfort from the pain. But apart from the pain, there is no other little help. Looking at the eyes across from me, which seemed to have lost their luster once again, the feeling of powerlessness kept surging in my heart. What to do, Lin Man? What else can we do? Dad, what would you do if you were still there? Then try to escape to a distance, try to stay away from it, that's not shameful. Back door. Will there be a back door left by my father? Card. His password magnetic card. Grasping the pure white card hanging on my chest, this is the only relic left in my hand about my family now. Jump. There should be a way to skip the ejection program. A way to pilot a carrier-based aircraft directly into the jump. Do you know that we engineers intentionally leave backdoors on the system during debugging to facilitate our own subsequent work? What is a backdoor? The back door is, simply put, it's a secret path. The secret path. Why leave behind a secret path? Of course the purpose of leaving the way is to walk, little fool. So why hide it? I hid it because I don't usually use it. Can't we let others go together? Sometimes the road can only be walked by one person, and if there are too many people walking, it will actually block your path. But. Alright, our Lin Man is still young and doesn't need to know such complicated things yet. Just remember, if one day you really encounter an unsolvable problem, then try to escape to a distance, try to stay away from it, and that's not shameful. So you need to constantly think about how to successfully escape and ensure that you can escape. So is that secret path for Dad to escape? Smart. In an instant, those past stories flooded my thoughts like a tide. If you don't have electricity, you just can't start the catapult, but as a carrier-based aircraft with energy, you don't need to worry about whether you have electricity or not. Yes, it's not over yet. Can live. Can you live? Accompanying this refreshing feeling is not only the precious memories of childhood. There is also a treasure called hope that was just lost. Moral. Moral. Wake up. We have help again. After thinking of new possibilities, I didn't even notice that I jumped up directly. Due to the numbness of the legs that had been squatting for a long time without any activity, they were unable to execute the instructions from the central nervous system well, so they fell and sat on the ground again. But this is no longer important. Moral. Take him. Take him. Let's go up first. The boy, who had regained hope this time, picked up 12% of his energy and shouted loudly at the person beside him who was lost in soul. You. Bang long. The violent explosion sound came once again, but unlike before, this explosion could be felt to have reached our heads without a doubt. It's going to explode. Let's go. Boom. The blazing and merciless flames have begun to ravage this facility in E6. If there were no accidents, it might not last for a few minutes here. The fierce flames were even about to pour down from the distant stairs, bringing a choking and deadly thick mist. Although the air has not been completely polluted yet, the strong smell of burning still fills us with excitement, and the constantly rising temperature is also trying to tear away our physical strength. Hurry up. Cough, you lift his foot. Moral, who seemed to have been scared out of his wits, closed his lips tightly and seemed devoid of any emotion. It may even be just instinctively executing my commands. Okay. That's it, you go up first. Okay, hold him. Yes, pull to the left. Apply force. And the unfortunate guy we lifted also remained motionless, whether it was due to obedient cooperation or already okay. Let's work hard together. 1, 2, 3. I don't know why, but in the end, I still carried a burden and threw onto this iron bird named Hope, and directly opened the console. Swipe this card through the card slot and the center console will slowly light up. Okay. There is electricity. There is electricity. Verified successful, debugging permissions. Logged into the power system with permission EAX0004, debugger. Unlock and drive manually. Jump. Jump. Looking at the user.friendlyhuman.computer interface, I finally found Hope in the navigation panel in the bottom left corner. Jump beacon. Can we skip it? Is this automatic? Jumping distance. What are these things? Energy management. Is it dragging this bar to set the transition distance? Boom. I can't handle so much anymore. Life and death are destined, wealth and fortune are in heaven. Command accepted, enter transition adjustment. Build a transition singularity and enter fairy mode. Hurry up. Hurry up. If Moral had a little bit of his own consciousness at this moment, he could see an unforgettable scene in his lifetime. Lin Man, who used to be calm and composed, is now jumping left and right like a monkey, constantly muttering with his lips open and closed. Start. Hurry up. Boom. Finally, what shone through Lin Man's pupils was still only bright and blazing flames remaining. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. 5. Fire. Wherever my gaze can see, it's all a blazing fire. A suffocating thick mist curled up in the raging flames, overwhelming. Did it still fail in the end? I am indeed sorry, Moral, I have let down your trust. I'm also sorry, Stranger. The flames in front of me began to slowly surround me, as if I had life, enveloping me in the middle of an endless sea of flames. Speaking of which, it can be considered a relief, right? The only regret left is the so-called mother, right? Woo-woo-ah. Crying. Who is this? How could there be a child crying? Where is it? Looking around, apart from the blazing flames, there was nothing else to see. It's so uncomfortable, but why can't I make a sound? It really seems like shouting loudly, but I can't make any sound. What's going on? What's going on? Woo-woo. Behind me. Behind me. Suddenly turning around, what caught my eye was myself. To be precise, it was the young and powerless self who could only cry loudly. For what? Lin Man, Lin Man. This voice is father. Yes, father. Aha. Ah! Looking at the person rushing out of the flames in front of me, I reached out my hand to grab him. But he suddenly turned around and ran into the terrifying light curtain once again. Together we took it away, and there was also the self who could only cry. In the end, they could only watch helplessly as they drifted away. Don't. I'm still here. Man. No. Don't. Don't. Ha. 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 Intense breathing accompanied by waves of cramps in my heart slowly allowed me to see clearly what was in front of me. Lin Man. Without hesitation, he tightly grasped the hand in front of him before slowly realizing that it was only moral. This is the scene before me slowly overlaps with the memories in my mind. Originally, I managed to escape in the end. Lin Man. Moral. Lyman. Moral. There were no more unnecessary actions, and the two surviving brothers tightly hugged each other. Interwoven with the sudden burst of emotions, there are also tears that are considered the cheapest. Good brother. We survived. We survived. Yeah, I survived. After wiping away his tears, he suddenly felt that he was no longer moving. When I looked back, the person in my arms had already closed their eyes and fallen into a deep sleep. At this moment, I realized that although I didn't know when he had regained his sanity. But judging from the coat he put on me, it seems that he has been taking care of me who is unconscious all along, right? You've been working hard too. Take a good rest. Gently lay him flat on the ground and cover him with a coat. Good dream. Looking back on that terrible nightmare just now, I can still feel lingering palpitations. I tried to move my feet and slowly stood up while supporting the chair next to me. Without any destination, we wandered aimlessly through space. Instead of going blind all over the place now, it's better to do it first. After resetting the life-sustaining system to be more comfortable, I still looked at the stranger who had been lying silently in the distance. I'm afraid it's already stinky by now, isn't it? But don't worry. In order to thank you for giving me the desire to survive at the last moment, I will definitely bury you. My goodness. Oh my goodness. His chest is still undulating. Is this actually not dead yet? Judging from the level of hunger in my stomach, I should not be in a coma more than a meal, as evidenced by the main control clock. But can he really persist for such a long time? Now, upon closer inspection, it is not the chest that has oozed blood, but the abdomen. I was shot in the abdomen and my armor was pierced, so the bullet should still be stuck in my body. Although I have long heard about the relative flexibility and mobility of imperial armor, I pay more attention to defense and protection capabilities. But now that it has been broken down, speaking of these things is actually meaningless. What should we do now? Do you want to save him? If you want to save him, you need to immediately search for a city that can land. But this is the Empire's carrier-based aircraft. Not to mention where we are we on the territory of the Alliance? The neutral port will also refuse all military actions. Landing in areas under Imperial control will immediately be recognized by air defense. What comes with it is being captured and controlled. Investigate our origins and we will all end up repeating the same mistakes. They are both Imperial citizens and Imperial soldiers. What about me? What can I do? Human beings are such animals, entangled and chaotic. It doesn't matter to oneself, but once it comes to oneself, one will become extremely selfish. But this is indeed beyond measure. It's ridiculous that I just boasted shamelessly about wanting you to settle down soon. Unexpectedly, it immediately turned into a joke. But what's strange is that his breathing doesn't seem to be as rapid as before. Instead, there is a feeling of relaxation and calmness. It's impossible, his injury is actually recovering. After carefully observing the location of the abdominal trauma in front of the person, the space fell silent again. When something that goes against common sense happens in front of you like this, your first reaction is naturally resistance. Although still severely injured, the abdominal wound has stopped bleeding. Wearing a mask, one cannot see this person's expression. But judging by breathing, there should no longer be the twisted feeling of dying. Shine. Lowering his head, he pulled out the magnetic and electric dagger on the outside of his thigh. Buzz sizzle crackle. This traditional self-defense weapon, when activated by its holder, can pull a terrifying arc on the blade and even effectively penetrate enemy shields, posing a considerable threat to anyone who disdains it. Anyway, let's just hand over the weapons on him first. I don't think the kinetic energy pistol used for self-defense can penetrate his shield. Of course, I wouldn't think it would be particularly difficult for him to thrust this thing into me or Morrel's body. TSK. Now it has really become a hot potato. If I had been more ruthless and fired directly, there might not have been so much to do now. As I turned around, the person lying quietly on the ground gently shook hands. Maybe it's an illusion slowly walking back to the console, looking at the stars in the sky and the endless universe. The vast world, where is the way back? So my father also escaped like this. My father, Lontaro Green, was renowned in the duchy as a power system engineer and was specially recruited into the naval fleet to improve and repair carrier-based aircraft for the military. How did he pilot a carrier-based aircraft to escape from a destroyed ship without receiving any training or obtaining any naval authority? It has to be said that this is actually very despicable. But that's the key to keeping him and me alive. It wasn't until now that I understood the meaning of what he said. Many people feel ashamed to avoid difficulties. Of course, I have always believed so before. Although I dare not call myself a hero, I have always boasted that I am not a weak coward. But when faced with irresistible forces such as natural disasters and wars, how do you face them? Those who usually say beautiful things may actually run faster than anyone else. After all, boasting doesn't require paying taxes. Even if you blow the sky, the biggest loss you'll end up losing is face. But death is indeed a true and objective threat. Who can be fearless of death? Who can face death calmly? At least for now, it's completely impossible for me to do it. Up.est3, belonging to the Up.est galaxy, Up.st domain, and Neptune constellation. At present, the only information that can be obtained from navigation is that we are still within the Up.st satellite domain. From the star map, it appears that it is a relatively primitive colonial galaxy located next to the Up.r galaxy we just escaped from. In fact, the main sequence Up.est is a star with a very moderate age, but due to the distance and orbit of the planet. The only planets suitable for colonization in all EST galaxies are EST3 and EST4. Unfortunately, one planet is barren and the other is liquid. In layman's terms, one of the two brothers has little industrial resources, while the other has little living space. Moreover, planets that can replace any function in this area can be found in other nearby galaxies. In other words, if food is tasteless, it is a pity to discard it, so declaring control here is only to demonstrate the divine glory of the Empire's sovereignty. In my impression, there is no major fleet stationed here, and the Alliance has little interest in this area. Although the Alliance is not interested in this area, it will eventually fall under the control of the Alliance as a part of the Up.r universe that connects other galaxies. Unless the Empire is willing to mobilize its fleet to sail far and engage in large-scale warfare with the Alliance. But this can be seen from the fact that the Imperial colonial flagship symbolizing glory had already been sunk, and there was no assistance until the moment of the sinking. If you think about it, you should also understand the tricks involved. Perhaps it's not that simple, is it? There should also be a serious factional conflict within the Empire. It cannot be guaranteed that the captain on the colonial ship is a masterpiece of which faction was suppressed, can it? But then again, should we enter the synchronous orbit of EST3? If he can successfully land, he can receive treatment and survive. Although I don't know how he managed to survive until now. But in fact, in the end, Lin Man still had to choose a forced landing, because this key card only granted Lin Man landing power to the power system of this carrier-based aircraft and the most basic life preservation system attached. Unable to obtain the food stored in the cargo hold, so ultimately unable to drift in space for a long time. If you don't die in a great disaster, there will always be good fortune. After taking a final glance at the motionless stranger and his sleeping companion, I decided to try landing on this barren planet first. Compared to other planets with stronger control, it's really better to treat this place as a gambling table. Since we can't escape the fate of starvation in the end, let's use our own lives as chips and gamble on the bleak future of hope. Autonomous driving. Navigation, merging into synchronous orbit. Just as the mechanical and cold sound of the system came, a giant object entered the radar's capture range of this carrier-based aircraft. Far away. Far away cargo ship. God really helped me. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7, 6. A long-distance cargo ship is a giant trading ship that travels between major star regions and even constellations. In terms of cargo ship positioning, it falls between the regular cargo ships that travel between galaxies and the flagship cargo ships that travel between constellations. Having a size and material throughput close to that of flagship-class cargo ships, but lacking the ability to perform ultra-long-distance jumps with the assistance of port facilities. Although without any armament, it is true that any vessel with armament will be considered a warship in the Treaty of Erin, considered hostile, and even unable to dock at a neutral port under normal circumstances. This is also why Imperial carrier-based aircraft were unable to land at Zhongli port. However, the huge volume provides a super-large capacity shield for long-distance cargo ships, which can effectively resist the attacks of interstellar pirates lacking heavy firepower until the arrival of local control forces. The huge transportation capacity, relatively low cost, and safe and reliable shields make this type of cargo ship very suitable for large and medium-sized traders to trade between star regions. Of course, an equally large body will bring a huge signal response, and a high-energy core will bring a huge radiation signal while maintaining the shield and propulsion. All of this will provide a very ideal environment for illegal immigrants. As far as I know, there are often stowaways driving small vehicles close to landing cargo ships, using the huge signals and radiation of the cargo ships to shield their characteristic signals, with the intention of avoiding ground radar search. As long as the cargo ship leaves quickly before landing and enters the atmospheric stratosphere airspace quickly, the goal of successful illegal immigration can be achieved. Manual driving. After making up your mind, stop overthinking and quickly switch from driving that is automatically merging into the synchronous track to manual driving. Driving a carrier-based aircraft, although not receiving formal military training, benefited from the upbringing of my father. It's not difficult for me to just pilot a carrier-based aircraft to complete flight control, is it? Push and hold the pressure rod to control thrust output is the red one for attitude control, 3-axis or 4-axis. If I remember correctly, the higher the number of stable axes, the smoother the flight attitude, but the cost is that operability will decrease. Let's go to the highest 4 axes first, right? Hey, can the pressure feel even harder? Is it because the number of stable axes is too high? Shanghai Group. Watching the giant object slowly merging into the synchronous orbit of the planet, I gently read out the huge logo on the painting. Although I don't know which class of cargo ship this is, at least I can know its owner. At this time, you should pull to the left below it, right? No, the 4 axes are too hard. It's still too hard to hang on to the 3-axis. As he fiddled around like this, Lin Man twisted and hit himself in the projection of this cargo ship. Autonomous driving, standard escort. After sticking oneself to the cargo ship, of course, the simpler autonomous driving function was directly used. This autonomous driving function used to perform formation escort clearly helped Linman a lot. At least it looks smooth now, but what if we encounter a custom ship? Press down on the operating pressure rod with one hand and start scratching your head with the other. If it's just a custom ship, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? They can't just force the cargo ship to stop and get closer in the air. Just observe if there are any illegal vessels following in and you can leave. But fortunately, as long as the flat and petite carrier like the carrier aircraft is attached to the cargo ship, even without entering the constant shield protection zone, it will not be detected. Actually, when it comes to it, no one would have imagined that someone would fly the Empire's carrier-based aircraft and illegally cross the Empire's territory, right? Hee hee. When I remembered that I was doing such an exciting thing, I, who had always been careful and calm, let out a strange laugh. Rounding, this can also be considered heroic behavior. It is different from traditional Air Force fighter jets. Originally, as a naval fighter jet accompanying the fleet in airspace, this type of carrier-based aircraft did not consider navigation in the atmosphere, and naturally did not have a reasonable aerodynamic shape, making it difficult to operate effectively and navigate at high speeds in small atmospheric environments. This is also the main difference between carrier-based aircraft and fighter jets. But as a carrier-based aircraft originally designed for ground-to-air combat, this aircraft, which I cannot name, naturally does not have this aspect of trouble. I clearly saw the aerodynamic kit that had already been mounted before takeoff. So now all you need to do is wait quietly for the opportunity to arrive, and if you leave this protective umbrella and dive directly into the stratosphere, it will be considered a successful escape. Here we go. The radar shows a bright spot approaching at high speed. From the panoramic driving window, the Imperial Customs ships painted with yellow and white stripes are approaching here. From the appearance, size and signal strength, it should be a destroyer. Upon closer inspection, one can even see attack rocket pods and rapid artillery directly exposed outside the ship's hull. Although these light weapons may not pose a threat to cargo ships, they can be a deadly threat to the light vessels of stowaways. Of course, it is also a deadly threat to my carrier-based aircraft. Sure enough, I'm just here to check if there are any illegal immigration ships that need to be enforced, right? In the end, it only returned halfway and clearly did not find any areas that needed special attention. Of course, I have checked everything for you and there are no other ships illegally crossing the border. It's unnecessary. I don't know whether it is because of nervousness or how. Lin Man has been roast about the behavior of the Imperial Customs in his heart. If you ask me if I have a bottom line in my heart, then I can only honestly admit that there is none. To achieve the current state where the goal is only one step away is partly due to Lin Man's audacity, and partly due to the stubbornness of the Imperial Customs. The occurrence of an event often involves various elements. Changing only one or two of these elements may not have a significant impact on the driving force of the event. However, if all elements are changed, even if the amount of change is not significant, it will have an extremely significant impact on the final result. But since we're about to land, why don't we wake him up first? If encountering any situation during landing, it is also advisable to handle it promptly. To put it bluntly, I actually don't have much confidence in a safe landing but believe in the power of autonomous driving. Moral. Go back to sleep. Yes. Hey. You, the person in front of them shrank into a ball and tightly hugged the coat that was originally covering them. Moral. It's time to wake up. Still the same, I can't wake up when I sleep. Holding so tightly, what's in my dream? Is it also a very precious thing? But after going through so many things, this guy has finally escaped unscathed. I feel incredibly relaxed now, right? Just thinking about it, it is indeed true that when the mind suddenly recovers and relaxes from such a tense state, all the energy that has to be expended in order to survive will be completely depleted in this moment. Without the support of tension, fatigue naturally sweeps terrifyingly. Even thinking of Moral's previous state of being lost and forced to mechanically obey his trusted self, Lin Man felt a bit amused and miserable. But this guy actually cared about me first after regaining his sanity. Forget it, forget it. Let you sleep. I just hope it doesn't turn into a nightmare. Recalling what I heard and saw in my dream just now still makes me feel scared. Is it the scene where my father took me to escape before? That blazing flame should be a scene from the sunken former Federal battleship. So actually, I may not even know why my heart is so afraid, so scared. Who would be willing to go through that nightmare like hell again? Who can calmly resist the fear depicted in the bone marrow? For Moral, it may just be a threat of death, but for me, the fear that had already been experienced at a young age is once again unfolding. So you need to constantly think about how to successfully escape. Father, many times, my father smiles and tells me to be a responsible person. But only he, who was covered in blood that day, said to me with a dim expression in his eyes. People always have their own desires and choices. There is nothing right or wrong in the world, only the most suitable for themselves. Is it suitable for oneself? Do we still need to take responsibility? What's the point of speaking but not being able to do it? Ah! You can already see the outline of the Sky Tower. The Sky Tower, as the core building of the colony, is the primary government of the Empire within the galaxy and also the location for extracting nuclear energy from the Earth. EST, as an old imperial colonial galaxy, naturally has a much higher level of construction than the Up-Daughter galaxy we escaped from next door. It seems that this cargo ship is about to enter the Central City. The Central City, also known as the capital, is the largest and most prosperous major city on the colonial planet. This place is bustling and extraordinary, but it is also like hell. At least entering it requires paying high taxes every day. Let's go our separate ways here, thank you very much. The destination of this cargo ship should be right in front of us. Manual driving. However, it's not that I lack confidence in myself. If it's just a simple landing at the airport or on a carrier, you can use the autonomous landing function in conjunction with the air traffic control at the home port or on board to safely return home. But this not only lacks guidance from air traffic control, but also lacks a suitable landing site. Can the automatic landing be successful? If we can't succeed, will we have to make a hard landing? This way, you will still fall into all kinds of meat and vegetables. We still need to call him, but he really slept soundly. Forget it, Linman, you can do it. You can definitely do it. Of course, before doing all of this, it is necessary to find a good landing location. It's not good to be too close to the Central City, it's not good to be too remote. The closer one is to a bustling place, the higher the probability of being discovered, while the further away one is from a bustling place, the lower the probability of being rescued. I don't know where the head is if I keep flying like this. It looks like it's still a satellite city, but it doesn't seem to take up too much land. There is also no obvious appearance of imperial architectural institutions. Just here. No, it's better to stay further away and come back later. Autonomous driving, landing at the destination. Search for air traffic control within the channel, skipped, ready to land. Attitude adjustment, ground soil evaluation completed, evaluation result is unsuccessful landing, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8, 7, it seems like there's nothing to say this time. I really need to wake him up. Autonomous driving cannot land, it seems that I can only manually operate the aircraft to land. The best plan is to be safe, but the worst plan, however, the environment here is decent, although the ground is not flat, it is at least spacious enough. If it could crash. Pooh! What a crash! Being able to control the speed before landing, even if it really falls and lands hard, at most it will be a plane crash, without the tragedy of human death. Moral. Moral. Woo, I can't let you do it this time. Looking at this angry and funny partner, in the end, there was no choice but to take action. If others don't know, can someone like me who has slept in a blanket still not know? This guy may seem like a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water, but in reality itchy hee, I'm sorry. Let's sleep a little longer. After thinking about it, I decided to ride on it and scratch him. This way, he can scratch both sides of his waist at the same time, where he is most afraid of the itchy flesh. Oh. As expected, there was a reaction as soon as I put my hand on it. Hee. You. Lin man ha. Ah. A strange cry came from my ear, and I don't know where this guy came from. His strange power pushed me out riding on him. Haha. What are you doing? Hey, your strength is not small. That's not you scratching my itchy flesh. I promised not to scratch after it's done. As he spoke, this guy actually began to feel a little aggrieved. But this is really not good for me, after all, I have indeed promised him not to play like this before. Sorry. But the situation is urgent now, although we can hover around here a few more times to give him a little more sleep. However, the longer you fly in the air, the higher the chance of being detected. If someone discovers and reports to the authorities, then our situation is really worrying. That's not because you slept so soundly and couldn't wake up. So why don't you scratch my itchy flesh? Alright, let's get down to business. After hearing the words, business, Moral also sat slightly upright. After experiencing such a series of events, the weight of this ungrateful guy in his heart skyrocketed. It has almost reached the point of unconditional trust. Linmin can also be certain of this. Obviously, there is no doubt that this kind of moral also made Linmin quite satisfied. From the fact that even if I lost my soul before, I could still mechanically execute my orders, it can be seen that Moral will definitely be my most capable helper in the future. But now we need to let this big iron bird go down safely. The automatic landing is not functioning properly now and requires my manual assistance. As my words continued to be understood by him, it was also evident that Moral's expression was becoming increasingly solemn. Speaking such words in this situation, he can now understand the meaning behind them. However, he was not directly told that autonomous driving was completely unusable. Just half jokingly and half seriously telling him that I need manual assistance. At least in his opinion, landing still relies on autonomous driving, and I am just playing an auxiliary role. In this way, he wouldn't think there would be terrible consequences. Alright, what's going to happen next? I know you must have met. After seeing the person in front of them silently nod their heads, the two of them looked at the corpse together. He hasn't died yet. This. Moral's small eyes were filled with great doubts. When we land later, you control him and don't let him fall out again. Okay. If you know, go find a corner and secure him and yourself first. After all, flying in the sky all the time also carries the risk of being discovered. Okay. After the words fell, the two of them stood up and acted separately with great tacit understanding. It should be noted that carrier-based aircraft were not originally designed as weapons for atmospheric combat. Even if equipped with aerodynamic kits, the operability under atmospheric conditions is still not very optimistic. Of course, the shield system has not been launched yet. All injuries generated during landing will be directly borne by the aircraft. Taking another 10,000 steps, Moral thought he would still rely on autonomous driving for landing. So I am aware in my own heart that although there are safety devices in the driver's seat for protection, the danger contained in it can be said to be extremely dangerous for Moral and his team. Lin Man. I'm ready. Watching the scene rapidly passing below, Moral's voice came to my ears. Looking back, Moral sat with his back against the cargo compartment, holding on to the stranger in his arms with one hand and tightly grasping the handle in front with the other. Should I also have made up my mind? Okay, we're coming. No matter what happens, you must hold on to it tightly. Manual driving. Okay, slowly release the pressure bar. Warning, thrust is decreasing. Warning, flying altitude too low. Warning, attitude adjustment has been locked. At the moment when the pressure was just beginning to ease, 3 piercing warnings came along with the red interface on the center console. Warning, the body is about to stall. Stall warning. Too close to the ground. Here we go. Moral, hold on. Collision warning. There are still 5 seconds left. Emergency braking. Enter emergency landing mode. 3, 2. 1 inch, bang long. Ah. The violent turbulence began to impact my fragile consciousness. The strong and irresistible vibration has directly made me dizzy and dizzy. The harsh noise generated by friction is also trying to destroy my poor remaining senses. Moral, how is Moral? Although he wanted to look back at his own life and death brother, due to the intense overload caused by the hard landing, Lin Man couldn't even move his head until he finally stopped. Ha! Live on! Live on! While gasping for breath, muttering something to forcibly stay awake. Their situation is much worse than mine. I just being pressed onto the seat. No way. Ah. Live on. If you faint here, you will catch it, you will be caught. It will die. I will really die this time. Just before consciousness was about to fall into a dead silence, Lin Man let out a loud roar. But coincidentally, just as Lin Man had reached his last breath, the violent jolt suddenly stopped. The sound of structural deformation and distortion gradually disappeared, and the sound of dust stirring slowly subsided. What followed was silence, a lifeless silence like nothingness. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. Where am I? What's going on? What is this? Hiss. Why does the whole body hurt so much? Yes, it's going to fall apart. Lin Man. It seems like someone called me. Lin Man. Moral. It's Moral. What did I do? By the way. Landing, we have already landed. Moral. Lin Man, help. Help me. Help. Moral. Hearing the lifeless cries for help from these brothers, I couldn't help feeling so uncomfortable anymore. Forcefully unfastening the seat belt and jumping straight to the corner behind Moral. The 2 people in front of me were tightly squeezed together like octopuses with great force. And an alloy steel bar that fell off the structure was inserted directly between the 2 people squeezed together. Although the situation looked unusually frightening, these 2 people were clean and without any blood stains on their bodies or on the ground. Except for the blood clotting from this stranger before. That is to say, this alloy bar actually didn't have the lucky Moral inserted, it just got entangled with these 2 people for some reason. Help me. Help me. Moral's only movable left hand waved at me nonchalantly, creating an inexplicably comical scene. Don't wave, Moral. If you wave it again, you'll really be exhausted. Am I okay? I'm fine. He can also be considered a lucky guy, so he didn't even hit him like this. Alright, move around and see if you can stand up. Gently helped the Imperial soldier pressed against him open. Although this tone has been hanging, currently Moral is still the top priority. Well, no problem, but my feet are still numb. Hurry up and move on, see if there's anything else that can be used. The compartment behind him and the container has been damaged, and now it is easy to retrieve the contents inside the cargo hold. There must have been a lot of noise during the landing just now. If we look at the situation that we have already been discovered. If they have already set off from the city and come here, we won't have much time either. Dan Shui, come on, hold this bucket of water. Put on these more food, hurry up. Lin Man, this. When did you still think about alcohol? Can you give him a wash on his wound if he's drunk? Take it on, and this one. Water, heat, nutrients. What else do you want? Money, money. Precious metals. Precious metals. It is said that money is not everything, but without money, it is definitely impossible. There may not be any reserve medicine in the cargo hold of the carrier-based aircraft, because if this weapon is beaten up, there won't be much chance for you to use medicine. But drivers will definitely reserve precious metals. As long as they receive instructions to rest after the battle is over, they can fly to the nearby planet's paradise. Can this also be considered an unwritten rule? Sand, sand, I need to bring this. Shoo. A strong ominous premonition slowly enveloped my heart with the rustling footsteps outside. Someone is here. Shoo, don't talk. After gesturing for Morrel to slowly squat down beside the collapsed shelves, he also grabbed the pistol at his waist. What kind of person would it be? Is there a gap where you can see outside? Here. On which side? Looks like it's a local militia. Holding a magnetic rifle in hand and wearing a tattered-looking uniform. Is that also a walkie-talkie hanging on my shoulder? Is the red and green light flashing in communication? TSK. Is he the only one? Sand, sand, sand. Looking back at the footsteps just now, it seems that there was only this person. What should we do? If he calls for support, he will definitely die, right? Don't come over, please. Please, clash. Crunch. That's all. I'm sorry. Pop. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, 8. A blood line splattered on the nearby cabin wall in a cold snort. The person who had just pushed open the deformed cabin door in front of him had fallen straight to the sound of the gun. The person dressed in Imperial Guard uniforms fell to the ground, and after twitching and twisting twice, there was no further movement. Ha! 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 Dead, I should be dead. What did I do again? I killed someone, Lin Man. You. I really killed someone, but he came over on his own. I'm just trying to survive. We must never be seen by him. Yes, it's for survival. For the sake of survival. Why did you kill him? Don't you understand yet? Look at the walkie-talkie on his shoulder. Once he sees us, we'll both be ruined. Upon seeing all of this, Morrel stood up straight and ran towards me, staring at me. No. You can't kill either, don't you understand yet? We all have to end it. I don't know if it's to deceive myself or to persuade Morrel. In that moment, I surprisingly roared out for the first time. It is said that when facing a sense of guilt, the rescuer subconsciously raises their tone. To deceive oneself, stop talking, hurry up. Go pick up his gun. You carry him on your back and go first. Go first. And you. I'll take care of his body. If you are not afraid and not in a hurry, then it is definitely a lie. Now that things have happened, it's already too late to say anything. The top priority now is to destroy the body and wipe it out. What should I say? Personnel from the Imperial Guard came to inspect the crashed carrier-based aircraft, but unfortunately suffered an explosion and no bones were found. If you insist on thinking this way, it's not impossible. Moreover, the Imperial Guard is not actually a regular army of the Empire, so killing someone inexplicably should not disturb the authorities. In fact, the Imperial Guard was only an environmental security team spontaneously organized by local personnel after participating in training. Although not a regular army, it has received support from the military's distribution of weapons, and its combat effectiveness is higher than that of the militia. Okay, after dragging you in, I don't want this pile anymore. This one should be able to burn, right? It's better to pile it up like this to start a fire. These things are what I want to take with me. Although I don't know if setting fire here can detonate this big iron bird, there is no other way. Finally, thank you for taking us out of heaven. Goodbye. Pie. Pie pie. Hum, hum. After activating the magneto-electric dagger, it was inserted into the shelf and the blazing flames quickly ignited with a crackling sound. Let's go. What are you still doing there? After quickly crawling out of this carrier-based aircraft emitting black smoke, they saw Morel, who had already been waiting in the distance. I also felt the tangible touch of the ground beneath my feet. It was this soft and delicate soil that saved our lives. If it is hard rock, soil, or hard artificial ground such as cement, it may not have exploded before landing. That's really a crash, help me. Hey, this is too heavy. I almost forgot that this guy doesn't have much physical strength. But thanks to this guy carrying big and small bags on his back, he still runs so far with a person in his arms. Oh, by the way. I almost forgot, this guy even had a magnetic rifle attached to his waist. It's really difficult for you, good brother. Come on, give him to me. Take this bag of things hanging on my chest. So, give me the gun and this guy, the rest. I'll carry another bag of this, and you'll take the rest. Hey, take this too. Don't worry. Wait for me to free up my hand. Hurry up. When someone arrives later, we won't be able to leave. Ah, good. Good. Let's go. Hey. Where are you running? Over there. Over there. Although I can't see what I look like, Morel in front of me is covered in big and small bags, which looks very comical. This guy, only feeling so heavy in his arms. My mother, this is killing me. I'm still wearing armor, and upon reflection, I know there's no reason why I shouldn't be heavy. If I had known it was like this now, I had already stripped him naked on the carrier plane before. TSK. But now that I'm holding him in my arms, I realize that this guy's situation is still very bad. Although the breathing is still relatively symmetrical, the amplitude seems to be not as deep anymore. This kind of tossing and turning is really not enough, right? And it looks like this is an endless desert, with no effective reference point to find. Although I remember seeing a settlement in the air just now, I can't estimate how far it is still. If he cannot find shelter before sunset, his life is really in danger. No, more precisely, we are all in danger. Hurry up, hurry up. Make sure to reach the settlement before sunset. Two people, with big and small bags hanging on their bodies, one of them was still holding a corpse that had no reaction and running on the wilderness. From a distance in this desert, it looks like begging for food from a deserted land, which is quite enjoyable. Ha. Lin, man. Breath, ha. Breath. Here we go again, can this guy argue for some anger? But unfortunately, time was tight, so he could only take a few breaths. Give me this bag too. Lin, when did you still play this game with me? Instead of blaming this guy for his physical exhaustion, it's better to help him share some more. I just hope this guy can wake up on his own and persevere a little longer in this situation. After all, helping him is also saving myself. If we were to abandon this person directly here, perhaps I would just say to let go on the spot. But if I were to abandon Morel, I can't do it. On the one hand, he trusts me so much. On the other hand, I no longer have friends. As we walked with swaying strides, precious time quietly passed by bit by bit. There are countless things in the world that cannot resist the passage of time, just as she takes away harm, so naturally she also takes away hope. This should be already dusk, although the cycle of this planet is not clear. But if we continue like this, we will still be far from sunset. It can already be felt that the storage of radiation from the sun on the ground is insufficient, and the heat in the atmosphere is constantly dissipating. It can be expected that the temperature will decrease significantly after sunset. How to do it, Lin man? So, that, over there. Looking in the direction of Morel's raised head, which was almost out of breath, it seemed that the outline of the building could already be seen. Turns out there was a deviation in the direction. If we rotate our running path by an angle, perhaps we have already reached our destination by now. Wait, no, it can't be a mirage, can it? In this desert, sunset and sunrise are the most likely times to produce such natural wonders. But still that sentence, there's no other way the track during landing cannot be modified as it needs to follow the cargo ship into it. And if the cargo ship directly enters the city and berths, there is naturally no need to consider whether it is daylight. Don't worry about the landing location either. But for those who have illegally crossed in, we can only rely on this gift and can only complete the landing and obtain shelter before the end of the day. As for why not fly continuously and spend the night under the protection of the carrier-based aircraft life support system? What, you think your life is too long? Are you looking for a beating? If some facilities are detected by radar, isn't it even more like there is no place to die? So there's no choice but to gamble again. Fortunately, from the current situation, although my life may not be very good, at least it is still quite hard enough. You, hee-hee. Hee-hee. What are you muttering about? You guy, you can't even breathe, you're talking about me. Of course, my situation is just better than Moral's. The armor on this guy's body is really too heavy. Sit down and drink some water. Take a good rest and accompany me for the last fight, okay? Let's look at him with sincere eyes, at least it can give him some motivation. You, come on. You look at me like this, Nothing good has ever happened. Hey. Is that so? This guy actually saw through. Wrong. What are you doing? You look heartbroken. Alright, I see you're not panting much anymore. Let's tidy up and redistribute your things. Oh no, I can't do it. Come on, are you going to die again? Don't bring this, just take 3 of the food for 2 days. So Moral looked straight at the person I had been holding, and now this guy was the biggest burden. Actually, it does make me feel strange. Why haven't I left him alone so far? Is it really just because he reignited our desire to survive? Or rather, I watched him live strong all along and believed in the so-called miracle of life. Of course, perhaps this statement from the mouth of someone who just shot and killed someone is somewhat ironic, isn't it? Since we've brought it all here, losing it would be too much. Since we didn't abandon him at first, why don't we just carry it with us? At least when the time comes, we'll really be on the road, and having one more person can be a good companion. Surprisingly, he didn't refute me, but nodded faintly. Alright, let's go, it's getting dark. As I imagined, as the sun slowly set below the horizon here, the surface temperature could no longer be replenished and began to plummet in a straight line when it could be directly felt. The decrease in temperature brings about a significant decrease in physical fitness. In addition, low temperatures will slowly destroy our willpower while taking away our body temperature. But now I can only feel excitement, the excitement that flows directly into my brain. Because the outline of the nearby building is constantly improving as we approach, and the tip at the highest point has been enlarging in size since I was observing it from the beginning. Although the sky has darkened, other details can still be noticed slowly appearing in the line of sight, and are being added to the complete picture. Finally, outline the complete outline of a settlement. This indicates that the buildings here are real. It's not a mirage. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10:9. There were no accidents, and in the end, Moral and I ran to the foot of this settlement trembling. The towering exterior walls are covered with mottled traces of time, and although the buildings in the residential area are intertwined, they lack vitality. From a distance, there were only scattered lights, revealing a sense of devastation and depression. It can be seen from the overgrown weeds by the wall that this place is not as prosperous as imagined. At least as a residential area, it also seems to lack a sense of care. Even without that well-organized appearance, it should not be so desolate, as if no one is taking care of it. Lin man, doesn't something look right here? Good guy, even moral can tell that something's not quite right. This strong contrast that does not match one's subjective imagination can indeed create a strong sense of discord. What is it because of? I vaguely remember the central city I caught a glimpse of when I landed, which was also bustling and extraordinary. Why did it become such a scene here? What should we do? Do we need to go in? Is there any other way we can do it without going in? But it really looks too eerie here. I always have a bad feeling. Now that the arrow is on the string, it has to be fired. Even if there is really any problem with it, we have nowhere else to go. Don't have a premonition anymore. It's already like this. Do you still need a premonition? So what do you say? Let's go, we've already arrived here anyway. It's better than freezing to death at someone else's doorstep, right? Different colonial planets have different climates, although not necessarily extreme. As long as they meet a certain range, they will be considered suitable for colonization. Just like here, although the temperature during the day is very suitable for survival, it will quickly drop below zero or even lower at night. Of course, if there are special or valuable outputs in certain regions, even if the environment is particularly harsh, there will still be colonies specifically designed for the local environment being invested and constructed. When absolute interests are in front of us, there is nothing to weigh. After all, in this world full of colonies, the least lacking thing is people. As long as you are willing to provide exorbitant compensation, even in the harshest environment, there will be people willing to work. As the saying goes, the prosperity of the world is for profit, and the bustling of the world is for profit. There's really something wrong. That should be something similar to a guest house, right? Well, but it doesn't seem to have much vitality anymore. From a distance, the sign of the guest house flickered incessantly, coupled with the cold and gloomy atmosphere on the street. Even the bold me couldn't help but feel a chill now. Isn't it haunted? Don't scare yourself, go over. It's better not to scare yourself, even if it's really okay, you might still scare him into something wrong. Ah. Let's go, stop talking nonsense. I'll freeze to death while squatting for a while. On the other hand, I have also begun to feel the irresistible coldness mercilessly eroding my consciousness. If you don't seek shelter quickly, you might really die on the street. Shoo. Dragging reluctantly, Morrill opened the isolation hatch of this guest house. After feeling the temperature gradually returning to a comfortable feeling, I finally felt a little alive. These colonial buildings usually have isolation compartments for connecting indoor and outdoor environments. People entering the isolation chamber from outside will undergo security checks and disinfection before entering the room. If necessary, the air pressure and temperature inside the isolation chamber will also be adjusted. At the same time, if the isolation cabin has good airtightness, it can minimize direct exposure to the inside and outside of the building, achieving the goal of protecting the internal environment of the building. Of course, this is for people, and there are also industrial-grade isolation facilities for goods and vehicles, which require payment of fees. Hello, respected guest. Full machine servers, in order to ensure that these hospitality facilities can operate at any time and under any circumstances, often rely heavily on artificial intelligence. The appearance is not very consistent with the shabby appearance. Although the internal environment may not be magnificent, it is still clean and tidy, and it can be seen that it is carefully maintained. What is the charging standard for third-class rooms? If I remember correctly, according to this industry standard, guest rooms are generally divided into 4 categories: VIP, standard, second class, and worst third class. Of course, there are also cheaper options, but this seems a bit unfair and unnecessary. The price for a third-class room is 610 imperial rigels per day and night. The imperial rigels is the low-level currency of the empire, and every 1,000 imperial rigels can be exchanged for 1 imperial mark. And when I was doing hard work, the maximum monthly salary was no more than 6 imperial marks. Moral will be much more, about 18 imperial marks, almost 3 times more than me. Obviously, a third-class room here would cost 610 rigels, which is too expensive. How about staying here for now? I agree. I agree. Afraid of my displeasure, Moral nodded like a chicken pecking at rice and quickly said. Is this guy that scary outside? It's obvious that I'm not willing to go out for another stroll like this, but it's not bad either. Besides being a bit more expensive, can I accept it? After all, I just stole all the money saved by others from the carrier-based aircraft and borrowed it. And I don't want to go outside for a breeze anymore. 610 rigels is enough, at least they have clearly marked the price. Even if you really want something, at least wait until tonight before we talk. You can pay first, my ID card should no longer be usable. I'll go and exchange these things for cash, and we'll have money. Reluctantly, you guy. Our identity card needs to be logged in every 45 days to confirm if you are still serving the Empire. If you do not log in, it will lose its function. Of course, logging in once requires a payment of 200 imperial rigels. In other words, we laborers have to pay a protection fee of 200 rikels to the Empire every 45 days, otherwise we cannot even enjoy the basic services provided by the Empire. Although it may seem dark, it is still much better than the lowest level of the slave class. At least one can still have freedom, so I just wanted to leave it like this for now and log in again when needed, but I didn't expect it, so let me borrow from you first. You won't have to borrow 100 plus 7 from me, will you? The called borrowing 100 plus 7 means paying interest of 7 yuan for every 100 yuan, which is a common practice among the people in the Empire. I dare not. Drip. Prepaid days, how many days should I stay? How many days will you stay? The main purpose here is to treat his injury and find a better shelter. So it depends on how long this guy will wake up. You can brush for 3 days first and then seek medical services at will. In 3 days, well, that's it. Didi, the room access unlocking right has been granted, room number 41, welcome to stay. The mechanical reminder sound without emotion sounded, and the transaction had ended. The fastest medical support shown here will also need to wait until tomorrow morning. My dear mother. Lin Man. Why make such a fuss? Look at this. Morals suddenly looked at me like he had eaten a fly and reached out to point straight at the screen in front of him. What kind of thing? When following his hand medical services, 3 imperial marks. This fee is limited to providing limited medical consultations, and additional medical expenses, including but not limited to medication, surgery, etc., that may arise from this need to be paid. My dear mother. Is this thing extortion? He's better off convincing me by snatching it openly. If these 3 imperial marks include medical expenses, it is still very fair. However, the situation of fixed price is indeed relatively rare. Who can guarantee whether this is a particularly serious illness or some other situation? For example, gunshot wounds. So generally, segmented payments are acceptable, but we haven't seen a threshold of more than 1 imperial mark. And it's still in a remote small settlement on a barren planet. However, when it comes to this, if there is no local medical service here and he came from elsewhere, it would be a different story. This guy's condition doesn't seem to be very good either, just 3 empire marks. We've all got him here. Let's get rid of it and send the Buddha to the west, 3, just 3. Hurry up and wake him up so we can keep running. Strictly speaking, we cannot rest assured yet. Our current identity may still be considered as missing, and the charges we bear include fleeing, illegal entry, theft of carrier-based aircraft, and so on. In some ways, I am even considered a black door. Who could have thought of it, who could have thought of it? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have saved this 200 yuan. This room is also decent, but he has to lie on a bed alone, and the rest will have to be shared by the two of us. In fact, there is not much difference between a third-class room and a second-class room, only one is a single room and the other is a double room. Although the price of a second-class room may appear to be only 200 rigels more expensive than a third-class room on the surface, a third-class room costs an average of only 300 rigels per person. Looking at it this way, one person saves 500 miles compared to a second-class room. It's also quite cost-effective. Ah! How can you lie on the bed like a child when you enter the house? You should come and help me. It's really great to lie down as soon as you come in, carefree. Oh my, you have to boss me around just this little thing. You're not willing to help me with a small matter. Besides, it's just you and me here. Can I let him lie down on his own if I don't command you? Okay, hold on to his back and slowly lower him down. Okay, hold it up. Now let me go lie down. Hey hey. Hey comfortable. Lin man. You bastard. End of this chapter.